You're still on to TVC's Sunday specials. Honey is one of Nigeria's underexplored agriculture commodities. Production limits cut across its value chain and restrain its revenue-generating potentials for the country. Lara Afolayan reports.
Honey is a naturally sweet substance produced by honeybees. China is the world's biggest honey producer. It exported over $249 million worth of the commodity in 2018. This was 11% of the world's total natural honey exports for that year. Ethiopia produces the most honey in Africa, producing about a quarter of the continent's honey with an average of 45,000 metric tons per annum. Though Ethiopia's output is just 2.5% of global honey production, this is way above that of Nigeria, where about 15,000 metric tons is produced annually.
We could rival countries like Ethiopia, who are the largest exporter of honey presently in Africa. Cameroon is not better off than Nigeria. Most of the honey that you find on the streets, which are being sold, majority is from Cameroon.
Several challenges account for low honey production in Nigeria. They include infrastructure, poor training, market linkages, as well as insecurity problems. The Anagada community on the outskirts of the Nigerian capital, Abuja, has a cluster of beehives situated within it. I visited the beehives to see things for myself, but I first had to take on the identity of a bee farmer to avoid being stung by the bees.
Around me here are beehives, about 100 of them that are scattered around this particular area. And the bee farmers, as you can see, are smoking out the bees so they could bring out the comb and eventually the honey.
The honey has now been harvested and is ready for processing. The farmers say yields from the hives could be better with more sophisticated equipment.
When you look at our vegetation, it's better than Ethiopia, Kenya, but the problem we are facing in Nigeria, the challenges we are facing is that the awareness has not been created. And again, you see, government patronage to beekeeping is very low.
This honey processing factory is where most of the honey from the bee farm I visited earlier comes. The factory owners, through a backward integration technique, empower local bee farmers to produce the honey refined and bottled here for sale. But the processors lament that sometimes the honey sold to them is adulterated, and this is very bad for business.
When you perceive it, there are something you realize it is just adulterated. So I think maybe because of the cost of making the sugar syrup and compared to the cost of honey, and due to the fact that some people don't even know it, they can easily confuse, because in fact we've got lots of rejected ones here that are really sugar, syrup kind of thing.
This honey processing factory produces about 1 ton of honey per day, but the quality of unrefined honey from the hives, among several other challenges, are limiting factors here.
Like the major one is just this adulteration. The other one is maybe this selling on credit, which we can't do without. You realize people, they come in, you start well, they're paying on. After some time, they give you an excuse and start buying on credit, And by and large, you realize you have so much outside. That's another challenge.
Local demand for the honey produced here is massive. There is a huge market for the commodity outside the shores of the country as well. The factory owners are already making efforts towards taking the products abroad. But then there are restraints, which include standards. Nigeria, for example, cannot be part of the European Union's $240 billion honey market like some neighboring African countries. This is due to the strict sanitary and marketing requirements for health safety reasons by the EU. Nigeria's Export Promotion Council now says it is assisting local honey producers to cross this hurdle.
A larger percentage of them are done informally, in which case there's no much record being kept. And that's why the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, working with the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, is trying to open up markets, especially to the EU. And to do that, we have to be listed as a third country qualified to export honey to the EU, just like Uganda has already secured.
Promoters of the commodity in Nigeria feel there are so many unharnessed areas of honey production, including its byproducts.
We are talking about honey. Honey is just one of the products from the beehive. There's propolis, there's beeswax that we've not, tapped into. You have the bee venom that you've just talked about, and all that, the pollen. So these are areas that if people go into, then there'll be, an improvement in their livelihood.
The authorities are being told to take honey production more seriously so they could reap the massive financial gains it offers. Honey bees are believed to contribute about $200 billion to the global economy, not just in terms of honey production and the byproducts it offers, but in areas of cross-pollination as well. Honey production requires minimal investment, but yields good returns. Nigeria presently produces less than 3% of its potential honey output. Apiculturists see this area of agriculture as having lots of room for growth and want better technology introduced into the country's beekeeping process to boost output. A barrel of honey costs more than a barrel of crude oil, and honey could indeed become a sweet addition to Nigeria's non-oil export earning capacity. Lara Afolayan, TVC News, Abuja.